Happy Wednesday afternoon to you, and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Dave Stewart alongside of me today. I'm Rob Adams. We will talk and kind of put a ribbon on the football season, as well as beginning to look into the winter season, maybe a little hockey chat today, as some of the girls' hockey games have gotten underway, and there are some basketball games going on around the area, mostly in prep schools and so on, although girls' hoops also off and running. Dave, how are you?
Doing all right today, Rob. How are you?
I'm okay, but I think it's, as we promised on Monday, it was time to put a ribbon on the football season. Obviously, we had news breaking last Friday with the announcement that the FCAC has voted for a 10-game schedule. It's still a very hot button, very emotional topic that, has brought a certain amount of grief, depending on who you are, around the state. Many outside of Fairfield County say, thank God the FCAC championship is gone, while some in Fairfield County say the same. Ridgefield football was kind of outspoken about it. So we thought today was the day to do it, and I thought the right idea was also to bring on our boss, Marty Hersom, and talk with him for a few minutes from a business perspective, considering we are the broadcast voice of the FCAC as well. So I thought it might make for an interesting conversation. So Marty's right here. How are you, Marty?
I'm doing okay, Rob.
All right. Thanks for joining us for a couple. From a business standpoint, what does this mean? So
let me first speak to it just from a personal standpoint, because obviously I grew up in the FCAC, right. From New Canaan originally. I'm a big fan of the FCAC championship for a lot of reasons. I went to, when I was home, every FCAC championship that I can recall at Boyle Stadium, when it was on Thanksgiving Day, and then even when it was not. So the loss of the FCAC championship to me personally is a big loss, because it's just such a fantastic tradition. It's a remarkable conference. It's the 17 athletic directors that now make up the FCAC plus John Quitso do an amazing job. And that event, the culmination of the fall for that event is just such a wonderful thing. And I think some people have commented that tradition is really just a word, and that things change, and that's true. But this really was a special game. So I do feel a loss from that standpoint. From a business standpoint, this is a very, very slippery slope for us as the official broadcaster of the FCAC, because we're really not talking about a business decision, we're really talking about the safety of children. So, the CIAC is determined with their medical board and the parents for concussions, or for concussions, or
yes.
That the 10-game season is really the best route for the FCAC. So, from a business standpoint, the arrangement that we have with the FCAC, we knew that the FCAC championship, the football championship itself, was tenuous at that time when we signed our agreement. So there are issues in place, things in place for us to be remunerated for the loss of that championship. It's a big audience for us. Obviously, we had probably in the area of 20 to 25,000 total viewers for that game on Thanksgiving Day.
In 122 countries.
In 122 countries.
Still amazing.
Yeah, it was an amazing day. It was an amazing game. I thought we did a very, very good job for our first, FCAC football championship, possibly our last. But the thing of it is that I can't speak to it in any other way other than the organizations that oversee these student athletes. They're making a decision based on their health, which I'm not gonna debate that issue with them. And then the FCAC has to in turn make those decisions. And a lot of the coaches, their feeling is this is about the kids. The kids want to play 10 games, and that's where this falls. And our hands are tied. Would I love to have the FCAC championship back from a business standpoint? Yes, but I'd also like to have it back from a personal standpoint, because
right.
It's just a terrific game, and it's hard to imagine, because every other sport has a championship, a conference championship, and now you've got this sort of anemic season in a way. I know everyone's vying for a state playoff berth, but still, that there's the finality of that conference championship and the bragging rights of having it were such a big deal from, for so many years, 50 years,
And I think that's fair, and there was a lot of talk from outside the FCAC, and Dave, obviously jump in as well, that the state championship should mean more, and maybe it does, but to the students I've talked to over the years, and for those who don't know my background, I broadcast Greenwich football for 15 years. So I talked to tons of those athletes who would say to me, winning our conference almost means more than winning the state. And to them, they kind of believed it. So, I understand there are two sides to that coin, but I will say this. The state championship was a different animal when this championship first started in 1966. It was a voted-on championship. We really didn't get the definitive championship games really until what, the 80s, Dave?
I think it was 1982.
Yeah.
1980, 1982, somewhere in there.
So the FCAC championship predates this, state championship, although it was a mythical state championship. There were things, I think it was called the Waskowitz Award, or I know I'm getting that wrong, but there was a trophy handed out in the early 60s. I remember, in fact, Greenwich won one in 64. I've talked to the class of 64 about it. So I understand all the sides of this, and I'm not immune to the thought that, no, the 9-game schedule wasn't the best plan, but I still felt if there was a little bit of, and I put a lot of it on the CIAC, if the CIAC could be a little more flexible, we could still have championship games. And don't tell me the FCAC is the only one that wants one, because if you're trying to convince me that Al Carbone over at the SEC doesn't want a championship, I don't know that I buy that. Al wants games. Al wants what's right for his kids. You can't tell me these other leagues don't want a championship game.
And I believe the SWC did away with theirs in anticipation of the rules changing, if I'm not mistaken. But I think you're right. I think it's a meaningful game. It's the kids who are involved. These are their peers. These are the guys they grew up playing against in youth leagues, and they're proving themselves against all the time, and they're playing them in other sports. And this was the game for them.
Yeah, and also from a business standpoint, when you actually look at it in dollars and cents, again, I wouldn't want anyone to parse my words, but the fact of the matter is this is a significant financial loss for the league. And what does that really mean? The league, to operate 29 championship games, costs a ton of money. You've got police, you've got the refs, you've got the facilities, and that game pays a lot of bills. Now, I'm not suggesting risking kids' health versus versus loss of money. There are other ways around that, and the FSEC now has to find a way to not only for the issues with their contract with Hersom Acorn, but also that gate at that game is a huge injection of cash much needed cash for the FCAC. So, how does the FCAC's got to figure out how to fill that hole, and they'll have some difficulty doing that, obviously, and we're gonna work with them as best that we can to try to help make that happen. But it's expensive to run a league.
Absolutely it is. And you think about, the official number I heard was 8,000 on Thanksgiving. I don't buy that, by the way. I thought it was at least 10,000 at Boyle Stadium. Take that, turn that into your gate. I mean, that's a big audience that you're not going to see. Yes, will Darien New Canaan draw a big gate, but it won't be at Boyle Stadium next year.
It won't go to the FCAC.
And it won't go to the FCAC.
Exactly. It won't go to the league.
Yeah.
So there is a dollar and cents reality to this.
Yeah.
From a personal standpoint, do you have a favorite game or a favorite memory that you look back on?
Well, there's so many Thanksgiving days at Boyle Stadium. Probably my favorite memory is when my best friend John Fales had his face in poison ivy at the top of the Boyle Stadium the whole game, and then was out of school for 2 weeks. That was probably my favorite. I think that was Greenwich. I can't remember who Greenwich played that day, but that. So, but just being in that stadium on a Thanksgiving day for any game is it was a treat. Now, the weekend before Thanksgiving FCAC Championship was fine as well. I mean, we covered one at Trumbull, and
yeah, we did
when Boyle was under construction, but under repair rather. So, that it's a really, really. I do feel that's a loss for everybody. But again, we're talking about the safety of kids. In fact, of children really, and it's tough. But Dave, you mentioned something interesting. It was '82 was the institution of the actual state playoff stuff.
It's around then, yeah.
Because that was Lou Marinelli's first state championship in his second season. Only his second season was '82 against Naugatuck.
And when he took over in '81, they hadn't won a game in 2 years. They were, I think, they were on a 20-game losing streak or something like that.
I think it was 29 games. Yeah,
29, something like that. Yeah.
And all those losses in the Turkey Bowl as well. I mean, that again, it's stuff that means stuff to people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a shame. Do you have a favorite memory as you look back?
If I look back at that time I've been covering the games, there was a game, I believe in 1999, where New Canaan upset Greenwich and Greenwich had been rolling over everybody. And I believe the final scores in Canaan 14-9, and
14-9.
Lou got his second FCAC championship that year. And of course, there's been a bunch since then of state championships, but that really, that really kind of set the ball rolling.
And I'll say that the CIAC history, I thought it went a little further back. It dates back to '76, where I see the 4 definitive champions. The brackets come along, at least on the archive, in '80, and then we get in a little bit deeper, where we had upwards of 6 and even 8 champions at times.
Yes,
so
yep.
It did get a little crazy, but and again, that speaks to the CIAC and just how big they've made this. You've got to take that into account as well. It's grown into being a 3-game tournament. I mean, it's a little bit much at times.
Yeah, it is, and they're playing 4 games starting on Thanksgiving Day within like a 16-day period or something like that, which is a little much too.
And that was always a discussion, that there was a Tuesday-Saturday element to it. You never wanted to see that in the CIAC. So again, all of that has to be considered as well. And again, there's a personal factor of all of this for me, just as it is with both of you. Now, I'm an out-of-stater, I'm a New Yorker, and my first year doing Greenwich football, I started in '99, but my first year full-time was 2000. So I was at the state semi for Greenwich at Boyle Stadium, but 2000 was the first year I got to do an FCAC championship and really understand what 8,000 to 10,000 at Boyle Stadium sounded like, with that press box hovering over the field and watching, again, a Greenwich team that wasn't a great team that year, but Lou and Rich put on a heck of a show that ended 21-20 on a missed extra point and a missed field goal.
Those are always big games. Those
were
are always
huge.
A lot of fun and a lot of attention to them, and a lot of people come out for that. And like we hear people talking about how the games are meaningless because they don't count towards the states or whatever. They're not meaningless. I mean, conference championships are always meaningful no matter what sport they're playing in. And for the kids involved, they want those are the games. New Canaan, Darien, they live for that. That's whether it's an FCAC championship or the Turkey Bowl, they live for that. So that game is always meaningful.
Yeah, and the games that we got to call our very first game broadcast was obviously one you remember.
Yeah.
It was the FCAC championship. We did it on radio.
New Canaan St. Joe's, yeah.
New Canaan St. Joe's, and we all kind of held our breath that night. And at one point we were taping phones to beams, but it just speaks back
It's
to
the Statue of Liberty play.
That's what Paul Silverfarb was doing that with my phone at one point in the second half. And I think about all those. I think about obviously that overtime game, which was blistering.
Yeah.
A year ago, and then this game this year, where to tell the behind-the-scenes story of what our entire crew did to get that game on the air.
Don't make me cry, Rob, because I will.
It is emotional, though. In all sincerity, folks, we haven't told the behind-the-scenes story, and we won't get into it now. But the short version is we had to kind of really scrape together as a group to put that broadcast on the air.
That was about as close to a complete and total disaster as I've ever come from a business standpoint. That was just within, if that broadcast had not gone off, and it came close, it's hard to say, where we would have been from a branding standpoint. But, when you're doing live television, it is, and with an early young group like we are, you're going to run into issues like that from time to time. And hopefully you're minimizing those number of issues as you go forward. But, it's also part of the adrenaline rush. Yeah. I could have done without the extra shot of it, but so.
And the really short version is, a piece of equipment fails, we have a backup, it wasn't with us, and Kate Chaplinsky set land speed records to get it to us. But we got it on the air. It's a broadcast I'm proud of, just from the point of view of where I stand, the work of Chris Irway and Chris Callan, and then everybody that's a part of this show right now. In fact, beyond that, of course, camera people and all.
It was an amazing group achievement. Yeah.
So the honoring they did with John Kutzo at halftime too,
and Ralph King as well. Not to forget Ralph.
Yep.
So the reason I bring that up, Marty, is that's all part of the personal feeling that I have, and why I felt so annoyed as I drove away from Ridgefield High School last Friday, and why I tweeted what I still think is a foolish decision to eliminate this game. It saddens me deeply. And the foolishness to me, to be very clear, is not the opinion of, people can have opinions all they want. Love Sean Patrick Boley. I've said that before. He feels the way he feels about it. That's great. Dave Ruvo said it probably should have been eliminated a year ago. That's fine. Or Dave Rudin, rather. Dave Rudin said, that's fine. Like Dave as well. But what I'm saying is the CIAC made what I feel is a foolishly inflexible decision. They refused to allow for, say, the flexing of a Thanksgiving game to allow for a championship, for instance. I just think there's a way to do it, and I would like the CIAC to play a little nicer.
Yeah, it's just too bad they put 10 games up against conference championships and made people decide between those two.
And if it is really a safety issue, which it is, it's a legitimate safety issue.
Yes.
I mean, football is football. You could get hurt the first game of the season or the last game, like his name escapes him. The kid with the ankle injury.
Oh, Thomas Williams.
Yeah.
The linebacker. Yeah.
What was the final outcome of that?
It was his ankle, and he's had an operation.
Yeah, it could have been a season.
If it happened in the middle of the season, definitely is a season ender.
ending,
Yeah.
so-
I mean, his baseball season's in jeopardy now. So.
Right. So I mean, football's football,
Football's
and you
football.
can't take you can't make it a completely safe game. It's a very physical game. However, some experts have deemed that that's a better schedule, and HAN Network is pro healthy kids.
Yes, we are. We are pro healthy kids.
We are
like
not
healthy
against
kids.
that. So,
as we get ready to take a break, and we thank you for being here, a thought on what we just concluded with the FCAC tour, because, again, talk about things we're proud of.
yeah. So the last 7 days, we just finished up yesterday. It was 17 schools. Visited all 17 schools in the FCAC. Raw numbers, and Eric Gendron, our director, would have to confirm all this, but we think it was 147 individual interviews. Total athletes, so we interviewed the captains of each team. Somewhere on the order of 420 athletes were interviewed in 7 days. A Herculean task, amazing job obviously by our tour crew, and as well as the folks here in the studio kept the home fires burning. So we had 11 live shows last week, plus all that content that we were able to produce, but amazing.
Yeah.
And one take Adams.
And even outside of the realm of just the sports captains, dance teams and the Madrigals at Stanford High School, who blew us away with their singing, and the Fast Frights folks up at Danbury High
that was
School
terrific.
winning that Fast Frights competition. So a lot
A bunch of
out-of-the-box
amazing
stuff.
kids too. I mean, like, they're really, 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 really nice kids, and very polite and really excited about their sport.
Yeah.
Excited about their seasons, and some really interesting interviews.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's a couple of mascots too.
They, you got to like the way they get into it too. They're happy about it. They're happy to be there. They were having a lot of fun, and some of them were wrestling outside the RV apparently.
Yes.
Which is always fun. But
Those were freshmen.
Why wouldn't they be?
but they had a lot of fun, and it was kind of cool to see them just in kind of a relaxed atmosphere before they get going into the season.
Absolutely.
No, it was fun, and the winter's going to be fun. We got a lot ahead of us as well.
We sure do.
We sure do.
Yeah.
All right, Marty, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great stuff.
All
All
right.
right, Marty Herson with us here on Nutmeg Sports. Dave and I come back. We'll put a wrap on a little bit more of the football season and continue on with your Wednesday Nutmeg Sports right after this on the HAN Network.
Here at the Darien Sports Shop, we are very excited about our newly redesigned men's department. Gentlemen, if you're shopping for work, weekend, or wedding, we've got the latest styles and trends inside our spacious new department just for you. We have vast selections from Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, Duckhead, Barber, and so much more. And you can even walk out of the store in the new Wolverine 1,000-mile men's boot. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut, or shop us online at dariensport.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
While there's still a bite out on the water, most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
I'm Kate Chaplinsky. Join us for Coffee Break, weekdays at 11 to get the latest Connecticut news, weather, high school sports, and more. News doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break on the HAN Network.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Hoping to have New Canaan head coach Lou Marinelli join us in just a moment here on the air with Dave Stewart. I'm Rob Adams. And again, I understand some of the reactions regarding the decline of the FCAC championship, but I think the outsiders have to understand our perspective as well. And again, I'm an outsider. That's what I don't think people necessarily understand. I'm not, I'm not all pro FCAC. I've called FCAC games for a long time, but I've also always believed that, you hand me what some of the games Eric and I did hockey-wise. They weren't FCAC games, some of those championship games. You hand me that, I go.
Yeah, I'm sad to see the FCAC championship game go. I understand the 10-game, the teams wanting to play 10 games, and I think they all should be playing 10 games because, obviously, the FCAC championship is 2 teams. There's 15 other teams, and we've got to take care of them too. And a lot of them don't make the FCAC championship. Don't really have a shot when the season starts. You're getting Greenwich, you're getting Staples, you're getting New Canaan, you're getting Darien in there. But still, it's still a big event. It's still an important event for the league, and it was still it was still a lot of fun for the kids to be involved in. And
How about that? Can we remember the kids? They are the stars, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's what gets me is when people call the game meaningless, and because the game is not meaningless. Whether you agree with them playing it or not, the game is not meaningless. If you're on the outside looking in, that's and you don't appreciate that game, that's all well and good, but that doesn't mean the game is meaningless to the people who are involved.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to debate it with a few people online, and you just sometimes you have to agree to disagree and walk away from it. Again, we can have the discussion. We can have the discussion here on the show. You can tweet me at 55 if you really want to. Email me, radio@HersonMaker, and all that stuff. That's all well and good, but there's going to be a difference of opinion. But I'm not as far off from the opinion as people might think. I still understand safety is a concern. I still understand 9 games was not perfect, but I'll offer you this. Take a ride over to New York. And New York football is pretty darn good. Is it Texas? No. Is it Pennsylvania? No. But there's some really good football to be found, whether it's in the city, on Staten Island, out on Long Island, upstate New York, or in Hudson Valley, which is where I'm from. You get a 6-game schedule as your base. 6. That's it. Not 9, not 10, not 14, 6. You get 6 games to start. After those 6, they determine the playoff teams, and at that point, they start seeding. Those that are left behind now get, in a matter of speaking, reseeded, in which they'll try to pair, a 3-3 with another 3-3. And now you've got extra games onto the season of those who didn't make the playoffs. So the non-playoff teams can still get games, upwards of 9 or 10.
Yeah, and I understand they've done studies, and like Marty Herson was saying, it's about the kids' health and all that. But a conference championship is one more game for 2 teams, and I understand you have to have limits too. If you're going to set a limit, you got to kind of have to stick to it. But I feel like in the case of a conference championship, they could be flexible. If you look at, take a sport like soccer, they have a 20-game, they have a I forget what the limit is, but say baseball, they have a 20-game limit.
Right.
You could play 3 extra conference championship games, which don't count towards the states. But I know we're talking about a different sport, a different animal there, but it's still, you can play those games. They don't count towards states, and they're still meaningful.
I still think that idea, and I've heard it from a couple of people, and you and I have talked about it, if the CIAC were a little more flexible, come Thanksgiving Day, you have that one as a flex day. And then you kind of regroup and you say, okay, upwards through the first 9 games of the season, these are our top 2 teams. They are now going to play for the championship. Now we reseed off of that, and we have,
Well, that was a plan that was presented to the CIAC earlier this year by the FCAC, was that they would the flex schedule will be on Thanksgiving Day, like you're saying, and if, say, New Canaan ended up against Staples, for example, then Darien would have played Greenwich on Thanksgiving Day, and New Canaan would have played Staples either the week before for the FCIAC championship or on Thanksgiving Day, depending on what the teams wanted. The CIC said no to that.
Of course they did.
The bad thing about that would have been that you would have lost a couple. You could lose a rivalry game.
You could lose it, and that's not good either.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily
Yeah.
want that. Would I want to see maybe a rivalry weekend the weekend before? I suppose that's possible. There
Yeah.
are ways that this could have happened. You weren't going to please everyone, but to me, there are two things coming out of it. The CIAC doesn't want the FCIAC championship. They don't want conference championships. They want the championship to be their little baby taking place at, such locations as Ken Strong and Willowbrook Park, and, God forbid it moves anywhere outside of I-91. And the CIAC wants to be lord and master over all of this stuff.
Well, if you look at, I got to hand it to them, their championships this year. If you looked at the Class L tournaments that I went to, the 3 New Canaan games, they were awesome games, awesome teams out there, and they had some very good, excellent teams out there. Look at Darien rolling through everybody, and the matchups were great, but they made it look easy. The thing is, I think, personally, I want to be greedy. I want to see the 10 games. I want to see the conference championship, and I like the 3-round setup. Although that's when the dominoes started.
That's
to fall
when it started
on
falling.
this.
Yep.
But I like that 3-game setup because I do feel there's some teams that weren't making it in that might have been ranked 5 or 6 in their state tournament rankings, and who didn't get in the past, who now have a shot at getting in and making some noise. Look, New Canaan was a 6 seed.
And let's be honest. Let's be fair. New Canaan a couple of years ago rolled through a regular season, played an FCIAC championship, then rolled through a long playoff season. They wound up playing, 15 in the end?
They played 15 games.
That's where the domino started, right there.
Yeah, it started with the 3 games in the tournament, and that was the end result. That was a result of the of the 3 games. And the kids were saying all year long, one of their rallying cries is they wanted to win 15 games that year, be the first New Canaan team to ever win 15 games, which is one less than the NFL plays during the regular season. So that was a little much.
Yep, it is.
But
it is.
it's a shame that we've got to say goodbye to that game now, that FCIAC final, and because there is a lot of history to it.
Right.
And people out from outside of Fairfield County, like you were saying earlier, don't understand.
Right.
They don't have the history there. They don't really get the meaning of that game, and it's important to a lot of people. A lot of people have gone to all those games, and that's kind of the hometown championship, so to speak.
And I do believe there would have been other champions to step in. I understand that Greenwich and New Canaan and Darien and Staples were the big dogs, but every now and then you'd see a Bridgeport Central step up with a couple of appearances, Trumbull with an appearance,
yep.
and they won it. I think
Danbury got in.
Danbury got in
a couple
01.
times.
I remember that. Yep, got in a couple of times, in fact. I don't think Trinity Catholic was far off the beaten path of getting into it.
St. Joe's.
You had
in there,
McMahon
obviously.
a year ago. Mm-hmm. That was right there on the doorstep. St. Joe's a couple of times. I'm just saying.
And McMahon won a couple in the mid-'90s, so that's they were there.
I'm just saying, tell the complete story when you're dealing with this. Let's I'm willing to step up and say that for me, there's a visceral reaction, and it's an emotional, personal thing for me. I had the chance. And it was really a joy. I called 11 of the 50 games as a broadcaster. You don't think that doesn't mean a lot to me? You're nuts. From that first game I did in 2000, then I did 01 and 02, and I won't list them all, and I saw some great football games.
Yes.
That first one in 2000, that one last year, the one this year. There was a 27-17 Greenwich lead. Staples came roaring back with 14 in the 4th, 131-27. Greenwich still had a chance to win it. Some great football, some great days. I'll treasure them, and we'll turn the page.
You see a lot of great games in that. I mean, all 3 Darien and New Canaan meetings were great games. The one you referenced with New Canaan playing St. Joe's.
Yeah, I didn't even get to do that one first Turkey Bowl that was doubled up. I was doing
that
the
was
Greenwich Staples game. Yeah,
that was a great game with New Canaan jumping out in front, and Darien making a run at it late, but New Canaan pulling it out 28-21, I believe that, or 28-20 that one.
28-20, yep. All right, we're going to step out for a break. We will come back. We got a few more things to do. We got to look at hockey as well as just kind of thumb through the numbers that you brought up from that state championship with New Canaan. Crazy stuff. We'll take a break, continue with a little extended Nutmeg Sports right after this on the HAN Network.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Discover the Wilburton Inn in Manchester, Vermont, a 30-acre historic estate featuring a turn-of-the-century mansion with elegant inn guest rooms and 7 large private vacation homes, perfect for ski vacations and holiday celebrations. Special offer on select rooms and houses. Stay 2 nights, get the 3rd night free through Christmas Day. CNN has called the Wilburton one of the top 8 mansion hotels in America. Call 802-362-2500 or visit wilburtoninn.com for more information.
Do you do a lot of running around but get nowhere when you're buying a car? Visit Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram for the one-stop buying experience and stop spinning your wheels.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your local destination for the best of the holidays. Shop Stewart's for the freshest produce, certified prime rib roasts, magnolia wreaths, fresh baked pies, gingerbread houses, Christmas candies, and the season's best wine and craft brews right next door at Stewart's Spirits. Shop Walter Stewart's, 229 Elm Street in New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. 102,000 viewers have enjoyed the HAN Network in just the last 6 weeks. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network. You are what?
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Dave Stewart alongside of me. Dave has become kind of the co-host along with Donald Eng. Don normally takes Wednesdays off to curry away in Monroe, and of course we've got Eric Gendron directing. Sometimes AJ Simonowski, sometimes Mario Recupero, sometimes Joe Furlano. So we got a whole crew here. Good stuff, Dave.
The co-host.
The co-host.
Co-host.
All right. Quickly, let's go through any numbers that jump out as we finally, kind of tighten that ribbon on football. What do you have from the New Canaan-North Haven game?
Well, it was a wild game, and it was exact opposite of what you'd expect. I mean, North Haven came in with the huge rushing attack, and New Canaan, of course, the spread offense. Michael Collins putting up incredible numbers this year, state record in 54 touchdown passes, and they kind of traded roles that day. New Canaan actually outgained North Haven on the ground, 287 yards to 226, and North Haven outpassed New Canaan amazingly, 202 to 179 yards. So it was kind of like, if you watched it, it was just they took what the team was giving them. Each defense was playing to the other team's, was playing against the other team's strength. So they reversed it, and they both showed they could do it. I mean, Matt Cognetta had a phenomenal game, and he was playing with a banged-up shoulder. 27 carries, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. Started the game for New Canaan. Second play from scrimmage, 53-yard touchdown run. Kind of got the ball rolling for the offense there. He had a great game. Kyle Smith receiving, 9 catches, 90 yards. Jack Steinman, quarterback for North Haven, threw for 145 yards, which is not their forte. That's not something they usually do. And of course, Mike Montano of North Haven was just incredible. 172 yards, couple of touchdowns, and one of them was just he hurdled from the 5-yard line into the end, over a defender into the end zone, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
A cool game for sure.
An awesome
and a
game.
Very different kind of game. I would have loved to have seen that game in person.
Well, the big thing was New Canaan, when they had to, both teams were scoring on each other. It looked like the last team that had the ball was going to win the game. New Canaan went on a long drive, 6 minutes and 6 seconds off the clock, which is not usually their quick strike. They go down the field, bang, score, and try to let you match them. North Haven was doing that, but they ate so much time off the clock, they left 3.5 minutes for North Haven to respond, and unfortunately, North Haven, I thought their last possession wasn't. They were throwing a lot on that right on first down. They were picking up yards rushing on the ground, so I felt like maybe they went away from their strength too much on that last drive, but they did convert a couple of third downs and get to midfield, but then Andrew DeFranco picked off a 4th down pass to end the game, and that was the end.
That sealed it, but great job. And I can't argue with the voting. Darien, to me, clearly the number 1 team all year.
Yeah.
New Canaan, number 2. I have no problem with that. And I think North Haven probably number 3.
North Haven played well enough. They played great. They were 12-0 coming in, losing to New Canaan in a game like that. I mean, there's nothing to hang your head over. That was, I think both teams, there was a mutual respect there too. You could kind of see that. It was hard hitting. Both teams had guys leaving with injuries. It was, everybody responded to whatever the teams threw at them. It was just a great football game. It's a classic, really.
And not to forget Bloomfield and Brookfield as well for their championships. They should legitimately be top football teams in the state poll as well, and they were. So
definitely.
Congratulations to all the champions, and sorry to say goodbye to football. Believe it or not, flew right by, and away we go. Turn the calendar, and we're already off and running. Girls hockey was right here on the HAN network the other night. And what a performance off the bat by the New Canaan Rams over Guilford. They won 9-2, and away we go. Now basketball is off and running for girls again. Boys next week, and there you go.
Yeah, we're into it now, and there's some really good hockey games, boys hockey games coming up the first week. You have all the non-conference games, so all the D1 teams, all the powerhouses are setting up matches against each other. We're going to be doing the New Canaan Notre Dame West Haven game next week. I see West Haven Greenwich is on here. Darien Fairfield Prep next week. You've got a lot of good matchups here. And they're all going to be coming up. I know New Canaan's playing. They've got Hamden coming up after that.
Right.
They're going to play Xavier twice during the year and Notre Dame Fairfield. So
it's not easy to pick the games that we will cover, and believe me, I had my hands full with that. And some of it's figuring out how to wire the buildings that we're going to be that we would like to be broadcasting in and all. Not to take you too behind the scenes, but there's a lot that goes into picking these games, and some are just games on good nights. I mean, you've got right off the bat, as we were saying, you've got that opening night of all these good games. You got a Ridgefield Fairfield Prep game, I believe, in the mix, and I know there's that New Canaan Notre Dame of West Haven game, which is the back end of a doubleheader here on the HAN network, with a 4:00 game that's Staples West and Shelton at Amity. Both those games up at Bennett Rink next Monday, so we'll have the voice ready to go by next Monday. And
Greenwich has Xavier too on the 21st. So
yeah,
that's awesome. And yeah, obviously, we've got the doubleheader. We've got the hockey doubleheader with Staples Amity and New Canaan Notre Dame West Haven. That'll be those are a couple of good games to start, and for both teams, I think they're both competitive with each other, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, tried to slot some basketball, and that was a little tougher, so that's going to wait until January. The first game we have lined up right now is a Thursday night. January 7th, that was a Friday game. Now it's a Thursday game. Danbury at Norwalk High School, and Doug Marchetti treats us so well down there anyway, so happy to go to Norwalk and cover that game. But I think that's a great marquee game to get things going in January. And then we're working on that doubleheader that we talked about. St. Joe's and Trumbull, it goes to Charity. It's at Alumni Hall. It'll be a 6 and 7:45 on January 9th. So just to give you an idea how our dance card is filling up.
Yeah, basketball doesn't really because of they're starting later this year, and because it's the holiday week, it kind of is going to be a little disjointed for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of your holiday tournaments that teams will play in, which will be fun for those teams, but you don't really get into the meat of their schedule until January.
Yeah, some of those tournaments are tough to get to for one reason or another from our perspective, but we'll do our best, and we'll have plenty of games. And it's a schedule that, while it's while I've got it together, it's going to evolve a bit. There will be some flexibility to it. Are you listening, CIAC? Just kidding. And beyond that, you got to look at the championships and line that all up. So it'll take a little doing.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun, and we'll get the good games going towards the end of the year. And as the playoffs get here, we'll be involved with that too.
And again, I said it, and you'll see it because you're going to see all the interviews, whether you go to live.han.network or if you watch them here on Nutmeg Sports. We'll run some of them. I cannot get a handle on FCAC basketball. I have a handle on hockey. I'm okay. I'm comfortable with hockey this year. I think I know who the teams are. I'm having a tougher time with basketball.
I'm hearing some stuff, but it seems like everybody's got a different couple of teams that they like to do well this year. And I've heard Danbury's going to be very good.
I think they will.
I've heard Trinity's going to be moving a little back up a little bit this year. And
I think Norwalk
definitely. Yeah, Norwalk definitely. So there'll be some. But you're right. There's no team that you can say that's the team that's going to do it.
And don't sleep on the defending champion West Hill as well. Losses to graduation, no doubt.
Big ones.
But this FCAC is so wide open. I think Howard and the boys down at West Hill can make some noise as well.
You could see that. Could be a big year for the city of Stamford too. We'll see how Stamford does.
Could be.
Stamford High School.
Be a lot of fun, and it's all part of what we will have over the next couple of months. Again, we will be mighty busy, and we will see it all right here on the HAN Network. Great stuff today. We will not see you next Wednesday. We will see you next Tuesday.
That's right. That's right. Holiday week.
Sounds
Things
good.
change,
Exactly. Hopefully Don will be here as well, so we'll have some fun with that. David?
Should be good.
Thank you.
See how the start of the hockey season goes. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. So that'll kind of change things up on Tuesday's show. Hopefully Don will stand right here on Monday because I'll have to be over at West Haven getting ready for that game, and we'll drag Eric and AJ up there. So that'll be a different show on Monday. But Don and hopefully Mike will give you a good show on Monday, and that'll roll us right in through the holiday week. So Dave back here on Tuesday. Thanks to Eric Gendron for tickling the ivories across the way. Thanks to Marty Hersom for coming on and joining us. We'll catch Lou Marinelli. We'll get Lou on another time. That's never a problem.
That'll work.
So that'll do it for Nutmeg Sports. We extended the program a little bit. We thank you for watching. Of course, we get your dates started tomorrow with Coffee Break at 11 o'clock. Normally I'd say it'd be Kate. It'll be me tomorrow with your Coffee Break. Kate gets a well-deserved day off. For all of us here at the HAN Network, I'm Rob Adams. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the HAN Network. So long, everyone.